Morning. So I've been doing digital media and helping advertisers effectively leverage these vehicles for over 16 years now. So Ted asked me to come here today and talk to you guys about some of the digital media solutions that are out there. As some of you, my understanding is you're just starting to get into this space. So I'm going to talk about what's driving the need to advertise online, some of the digital media solutions that are out there and have been around for a really long time, and how to most effectively leverage them. So the key drivers that we're seeing, it's user behavior. David already talked about what's happening now, and what's happening now is going to change 5 years from now. So it's really important that we stay on top of it. But right now there's several vehicles out there that people have been using for a long time, and there's just slight things that you can do to improve the performance of the money that you're spending. As users right now are looking at all the different delivery options that are out there, you have multiple tablets. You know what, 2 years ago it was just the iPad, if that was even been 2 years now. And now there's so many more tablets out there. You have all of the smartphones that are constantly changing, which is why I love the Best Buy program, because you can just constantly turn in your technology device and get the newest one, because I hate when I have a 6-month-old device and it changes on me. And then RSS feeds. So if the user's behavior is changing, we need to stay on top of that. And I mean collectively, all of us. We always have to understand what are they using in order to research information, because we need to make sure that we're effectively reaching them. Metrics. Metrics really driving the need for many companies, especially top down from the CEOs saying, what am I getting for my spend? And when you get to digital media, it's the easiest thing to track because of the metrics that are available for all digital media programs. Because of all of the metrics that you're able to get from digital media programs, you can figure out what's working and what isn't. But the most important part is you may get that data, but you have to do something with it. Make modifications on it. So anytime you're working with a media company, you want to make sure that you understand what metrics come with what solution, and then understand how to interpret those metrics so you know what you need to do to change it to improve your overall performance. So you have all these digital products that we're going to be talking about. Some we're only going to address at a very high level, and you may be overwhelmed with what you know now. I mean, I know I've been in this for so long, I'm overwhelmed at what I see coming. So when you think about just some of them, you may not even be using these, but virtual events, podcasts, webcasts, videos, those are multimedia products. White papers, digests, buyer's guides, newsletters, banners, text links, websites, apps, SEO. It's like, oh my God, what do you do? Where do you start? There's so much out there. So you need to know for the market that you're reaching, what are the vehicles that those people are leveraging, and Ted's going to be talking about that at the end. It's really important to know where are they and how are you going to reach them. So I'm going to start to talk about how can you get that success in online marketing. I can break it down and make it less overwhelming, and it really just starts with what is your objective and what is the success criteria. So that means what are you trying to do? Why are you advertising, and whatever that vehicle is, what are you trying to do, and how do you know that you did it well? If you were trying to drive users to your website, well, then you must be looking at some analytics to know how much traffic is coming to your site. If you're trying to get leads for your sales force, then it's going to be on the leads and the quality of those leads. But you need to know for whatever program you do with digital media, what are you trying to achieve, and how will you know if you did it? Once you do that, you actually partner with a media company, and if they understand your objectives and how you're going to know that it worked well, they'll recommend the right solution. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen across all the markets that I've been doing this in is people think they know what vehicle is going to produce the results they want. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard from a customer, I want to run a banner on your site because I need leads. Those things don't go together. Banners are not going to deliver you leads. So either you're confused on the objective or confused on the metrics or the solution. So partner with your company, with your media company that you're working with. Make sure you tell them what your objectives are, what you're trying to do. Then they'll break down the solution for you. So all these products that you're going to hear about, in bits and pieces, they'll break it down for you. That's going to then determine your creative. Once that solution is determined, so if you decide it was going to be an email, well then you know that you're going to write an email copy, and we would give you best practices on that. If it was going to be a webcast, then you'd know what those submission materials are. If it was a banner, then you need to know, are you going to be leveraging some of the rich media vehicles out there or not? So that's going to determine the creative. And the creative has to match back to the objective, which means if you're doing a branding campaign, then that ad should be a branding ad. If it's to drive direct response to your website, then you have to make sure you have clear calls to action. That's why it's important to always start with your objective. And then the creative is going to determine what are the metrics that are available. So if you're doing a white paper, then you know that you're going to get leads. Or if you sponsor a webcast, you're going to get leads from that. If it's a banner, you're going to get impressions. And if it's a direct response campaign, then you're also going to get the click stats. So any of the metrics that will be tied back to any of the digital media products will help you understand, was that effective? Did it meet my objective? So once you get the metrics, you have a behavior. You have to decide to do something with it. And I can't tell you how many times People get metrics and they don't even look at it. And they're really not getting a good return for their spend. And you don't want that. And it certainly breaks my heart working in this industry to be able to deliver to someone some feedback to change creative because I know that they're not getting the value for their money. And then they choose to do pickup, which I don't understand. I'll talk about pickup. So your behavior is going to then, went the wrong way. The behavior is going to either say, I'm going to revisit my objective, because many of you may be buying year-long programs with a media company. But things don't stay for a year long. So much is changing just in digital media, let alone in our businesses. Things change. So once you look through the metrics, then you have to revisit what was your objectives. Are my objectives still the same? And if they are, then great. Then you continue with the solution, the creative, and it goes in a circle again. But you may have to revisit the solution if it wasn't working well. Maybe you need a different vehicle. Or you're going to revisit your creative based on the metrics. So if you look at any online marketing program as this little process, it really does take the overwhelming part out because your media company should be starting with the solution based on your objectives. So if I break it down, if your marketing goal was branding and you started with your objective, creative, and metrics idea, typically with branding, you're going to have a new introduction to a product. You're going to want maybe increased market share. You want to dominate out there because there's more people coming into the market. Or you want to change a brand perception. Maybe you guys are out there and you want to rebrand. So if you start with those, let's say, as branding objectives, well, that's going to help you figure out what's the creative. So the creative typically is high impact ads, whether it's the big prestitial ads, those big welcome ads. I know right in front of fire engineering, there's a big welcome ad that always runs, high impact ad. It also comes in multiple formats. If you're out there with branding, you want frequency, and you want frequency through all the different vehicles. So that means you're leveraging both push and pull marketing. So push marketing is when you push data out to people who are sitting there and waiting for information to come to them. And then you also have pull marketing, which is where they're actively researching information and it's on your website. So you're increasing frequency to increase your brand, and then you're also leveraging multiple vehicles. We have seen through analysis that we've done here at Penwell across several different markets that when a print ad runs and a digital campaign is running well, the digital campaign metrics go up. People see that print ad, and I know it's really hard to get metrics for print. You know that it was distributed, but you don't really know. But you can track that when all of a sudden you see your digital campaigns boosting. So think about that if you have a branding campaign. The metrics that we typically see with branding campaigns measured over time. You know, if you're running a banner ad up there and it's a banner, you're not going to see performance right away. It's about the branding and the repeat exposure. You'll get impressions. So CPM, I don't necessarily think that you guys may be looking at CPM, but it's the cost per 1,000 impressions that you're getting. It helps you understand how much value are you getting for your spend. And one of the other things that you'll see with this in a good branding campaign, I'm going to show some examples later, is an increase in your search activity through your own analytics tool. But I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. The most important thing that I want to make sure that you know is if you are running a branding ad, which means the goal is to brand, not to drive traffic to your website, don't be disappointed if there's a low click-through rate. That wasn't the intention of your ad. Your ad was designed for branding. That means exposure, just like on a TV commercial. We see TV commercials for trucks. I don't go run out and buy a truck. But I got that repeat exposure, and eventually I bet they could tie it back to several commercials that I've seen. So don't get disappointed and understand the metrics based on your objectives. If your goal was direct response, same exact thing, objective, creative, and metrics. So objectives tied to direct response, you want to increase your website activity. You want to educate your prospects on whatever your particular products are, or you want to provide really a compelling thing for the users to come and learn about. So when you think about the creative, this is the most important. If you are trying to get users to go to your site, to take action, you have to make sure that there's a reason for them to do it. If I see a banner on the right-hand side and it doesn't tell me that I'm going to get something free, click here to download something, educational information, I'm not going to click. So it's not just about click here, because that just tells me I should do something, but it doesn't tell me why I should do it. I'm on the website, I'm researching information for something else, you're trying to take me away from that website, tell me what I'm going to get for it. So make sure that you always have a verb and the benefit of that verb, and you will see improved performance on your clicks. You want to try to create a sense of urgency, especially if you're trying to drive traffic for a specific reason, let's say right before a show. So if you wanted to say, you know, come now, check out this special product that we're going to be showing at our show, learn more now because it's coming up in 2 weeks. You have to think about, again, you're taking them away from what they were currently researching online. Why should they go and do this behavior? The targeted part ties back to what David Warren was saying earlier about the tagging. So now that tagging is available out there through online programs, this allows you to actually take your message and target it at a very specific audience. So now you're not spending, let's say, $5,000 on a banner and getting it in front of a broad audience who may not even purchase your products. Because of the tagging capability where content is assigned to specific areas, you're able to now make sure that the message that you're trying to get out is in front of the exact audience who would purchase your who would purchase your particular products. I'm going to talk more about landing pages, so I'm going to skip that comment right there. The metrics that are tied with direct response, you're going to immediately see stats right at the beginning. When you put your banner up, you're going to start seeing clicks. So those can be measured on a weekly basis, at least a monthly basis, but you'll immediately see performance on that. You'll always want to look at your click-through rate. If you're disappointed in the click-through rate, well, then we should talk about where is your ad running. Is it running in the right area of a website? And was there a clear call to action? Because there may not be. I have those conversations with people all the time, and I wouldn't have thought that your campaign was about direct response. You didn't even have someplace for me to click. And landing page conversions, I will get into. Text links, if you are doing text links on any media company's website, they are far more effective than most banner campaigns if you're looking for high traffic driving opportunities. Text links are words, and they're going to be like strong keywords that people would use if they were going to type into search that would make your products appear. Text links look like more content on a page. So it's really about grabbing that user's attention with information that's actually relevant to them. Lead gen programs. So this is really where you want to try to increase your sales pipeline. Right? The salespeople are saying they're out there cold calling. They need more opportunities. So what do you have to do? You have to find a program that's actually going to deliver you contact information for people. Most lead gen programs are webcasts, white papers, editorial digests. Again, I won't get into the specifics, but you should be partnering with your media company to say, okay, I need a lead gen program. I need actual contact information so we can proactively go after an audience rather than reacting, hoping that they come across our website and click on something and ask for more information. The most important thing is if you're going to ask people for their information, make sure that it's valuable content. There is nothing more upsetting as a user, I'm sure you guys would all feel the same way, if you came across a registration form, you completed it, and then you got some marketing spiel on the back end. You don't want to ruin your relationship with your users, so make sure that if you're having a lead gen program that you are providing the users with valuable information to help them in their jobs. And if you're not, then don't put it behind a registration wall. Metrics, you're going to be looking at the cost per lead. So you take the cost of the program, divide it by the number of leads, and all markets are different, but that's how you understand, did you get good value? I mean, if you're out there selling a $2 product, and if you get, 100 leads, it's going to take a lot for you to break those down and sell, more than what you've spent on the program. But if you have a more expensive, product that you're out there offering and you got 100 leads or 200 leads, it doesn't take that much to turn around and make up for more than what you've spent in the digital media solution that you're leveraging. But definitely, please walk away with this. Be honest with them. Don't just put things behind a registration wall. Don't promise something if you're not going to deliver the value to the user. Because I'll tell you, when you actually do have real content that you want to put behind a reg wall, they won't click. They'll be Fred Flintstone. And all of a sudden, you're going to get Fred Flintstone in your leads. And your salespeople are not going to be happy. So if you're trying to get the conversion on your own, which means you're not partnering with a media company and you're trying to figure out how can you capture somebody's information on your own, on your website, you may have different calls to action, different catalogs or something that they can download. It is all about this landing page. There's a lot of information out there on landing pages. We can send you some information on how to create effective landing pages. But a landing page is the page that the users are going to complete their information to get whatever it is that you have promised them. What you have to keep in mind, and I've seen many companies fail on this, is that nobody knew who was accountable for that lead. If somebody isn't accountable for the lead, then you don't know what questions to be asking. But whoever is responsible for getting that information to sales needs to know what does sales need in order to make a sale, or in order to call up on that opportunity. So make sure that you're identifying who is responsible for that conversion so that they're thinking about their responsibility, which is what are the questions that we're going to ask. Then you have to make sure that somebody's creating the landing page, because the design of that landing page is very important. I mean, we've had banners running on our site, and customers have told me that we were driving them to a landing page, and we didn't. We sent them to their home page. That's really frustrating for a user. I mean, if they're sitting here and it says, learn about my product, and you send them to your home page, huge mistake. I mean, you just broke the trust of that user. Now you've not only broken that trust because they thought they were going to what the ad was about, but now you're expecting them to go navigate around your site to find exactly what that ad was about. And we know users only go in so many pages deep. So trust me, capture it while you're there, send them to the page that they want. The design elements that you should keep in mind, one active link. Okay, I know it gets really exciting, especially if you're doing something with a media company and you get a lot of traffic to your site, so you want to get as much as you can from that user. It does not work. It fails. In any market that I've done, and I've been across several markets, it fails. So think about it, be strategic, and get the results that you want. That means make sure that there's nothing else on the page other than whatever that conversion was about. So, for example, if you're running a banner ad on a website and you want to drive them over to something that they're going to get a technical brief or what have you, that landing page should have no other links on it other than the information that you want the people to complete with a submit button. If you want to try to take more advantage of that traffic that's coming to your site, do it once the submit, once you've gone to that conversion. Because again, what was your objective? The conversion. Don't mix them up. Don't do, my objective is to drive traffic, to increase my brand, and to also capture the leads. It will be a mess, and the metrics will be all over the place. So stay focused on whatever your objective was. When you match the ad campaign to the design of the landing page, again, the user doesn't have to wonder, did I follow through to the right ad? Am I at the right place? So actually, if you have nice complementary colors, it works best because they know they're actually where they had clicked on. Keep the form short because, again, you're taking them away from something. They were online researching some information, so just get it and let them go. So measuring performance. CPM I talked about, and I don't know whether or not you guys actually do that, but CPM is related directly to the amount of traffic that is going to a specific part of a website. The CPM can actually be controlled by whoever your media company is. So if you're not getting a lot of eyeballs to your ad units, then your media company will work internally to try to find out ways to drive more traffic to that area of the site. Where there seems to be a lot of confusion across all the companies I deal with is the CTR. The CTR is your advertising element. There's nothing your media company can do about your advertising unit other than tell you best practices. So you should be talking with whoever you're working with and say, how can I get the best click? What are you seeing? I mean, one of the cool things about working in Penwell is that we can see what works across all of the markets, and then just within the fire market, we can turn around and see who's creating effective ad campaigns to drive traffic. So what you should be doing is making sure that you're getting those best practices so you don't have to bother starting from scratch. But if your click-through rate is low, that means there's something wrong with the creative. There's a mix-up. Maybe it wasn't designed correctly. But get those best practices to help you out. CPL is tied to the lead gen programs, and I've already gone over that, so I won't repeat it. So I'm going to show you some real-world examples of what happens. So this particular customer wanted to drive traffic to their website. They did a topic center sponsorship. Some of you may know them as microsites. Some of you know them as topic centers. Others, if you're working with another media company, it's called targeted advertising, which goes back to the semantic stuff that David was talking about. So they did targeted advertising. Usually in targeted advertising, you get a higher performance on clicks if it's a click campaign because it's actually relevant to the content on the page. So if you think about going to Google and you just broke a grill and you're having a party this weekend, you're going to go do a search on a grill. And if a waterbed ad comes up, you're not going to click on it. It wasn't relevant to your search. That's the same thing with targeted advertising. So this customer, happened to have relevant content in here, but there was a problem with the campaign that we're going to go over. Same materials ran for 3 months. That's like nails against a chalkboard for me. This is digital. It doesn't work that way. It's so important to sit there and monitor the metrics, and when you start to see them dip, change your creative. You hear banner blindness, it's real. It happens. They get exposed to that same ad over and over. You can make subtle ad changes without burdening your team. Simply changing the color or simply changing the call to action helps boost that performance right back up. So this particular campaign ran for 3 months. They started out okay for a click-through rate. I would have liked to have seen it higher in targeted advertising. They went up a little bit the second month, but then all of a sudden they dropped. So we talked to the customer, and their CPM was fantastic because they said they weren't happy with their program. Wrote an email. I said, I don't understand your CPM. It's far below average. I don't understand this. Well, we were disappointed in the clicks. And I said, well, I wouldn't have even thought that this was about driving traffic to your website. You didn't necessarily submit the right materials. Second example. This customer wanted to drive traffic to their website. They did an exclusive newsletter sponsorship every single month for the year. They ran the leaderboard, the anchor, which is at the bottom, and a skyscraper. Same ad ran in every single newsletter. So I know you guys by now are going to know what's happened. Of course, the performance went down and down. This was very sad. So we went in there and we talked to them. And we said, you need to change your creative. The same people have seen this ad over and over again. And so their ROI, when you do the analysis, it was getting worse and worse. But they didn't change their creative. This is where the pickup stuff bothers me. So once they changed the creative, the performance started to go back up. I mean, this happens in any market. This happens to actually be a fire example. So it does happen. Overexposure will hurt your click-through rate. It absolutely will. So if you want to make sure that you're still getting the value for your dollar, please make sure you change your creative and pickup. If any of you use that terminology on your print side of things, just do a pickup. It's just easier that way. You're not getting the value of what you asked for from any of your media companies. Don't do pickup. Digital doesn't work that way. People don't like being overexposed to the same ad in digital world. The third example talks about some of the high impact ads that we've talked about. So this particular example, they wanted to drive traffic to their website. They did a big welcome ad, so that big 600 ad that appears right before you go to FE. That was their first ad that came through. Those welcome ads only appear for 15 seconds. So there was a lot on this particular graphic that came through, and we didn't know what we were supposed to be looking at. And David Warren and I actually got this from the customer. We gave them feedback. We didn't really know what those images meant, why they were there, because I was spending so much time trying to look at them. David commented on the YouTube being red and the click here red. What are we supposed to do? Where are we going? They changed the creative, much simpler, cleaner, and they ended up getting 908 clicks in 1 week, 4.08% click-through rate. The second time they ran an ad, same customer, ran an ad, but this time this was about branding. This was not about driving traffic anyplace. So the ad creative was different. So again, branding, I'm going to expect the CTR to go down because there's no real clear call to action, compelling reason why I should click. And it did. It went down. But that's okay because I told you branding you're not going to measure in click-through rates. That's not what it's about. It's about the impressions. They got over 13,000 impressions in 1 week for that ad. They weren't disappointed in the click-through rate because we already had a conversation with them that their click-through rate would go down. So some best practices, and I won't necessarily go through all of these just because I'm surprised Ted hasn't made the beeper go off yet. But you'll get these, obviously, when you get the presentation. So banners, if you're doing branding, you want to have the logo in a spot. You want to make sure that you have a URL where people can go through later. Direct response, I've talked about it, clear verb, benefit, learn more. Okay, learn more about our low-cost, same great quality suit, definitely better. You want to make sure it pops. You can even underline the call to action. You can put it in a button. There's a variety of different ways. We can send you all of this information. If you have a lot to say, the multimedia ads that David's talking about, they can expand. So instead of like getting a big welcome ad, especially if it's sold out on one of your company's websites that you partner with, you can do an expandable ad. That helps rather than don't squish too many words in like a skyscraper. It doesn't work. Skyscrapers, people are really concerned about above the fold, below the fold. I don't know what that means in digital world, but I can tell you if it's, like above before I scroll, then try putting your call to action on the top and at the bottom. The coolest thing about digital media is you can just try it, and then you can simply change it next month. It is so easy, but you have to be willing to try. And then I wanted to put this in here because I think some people misunderstand why there are specs. And they may work with different media companies, and they think the media company is being difficult to work with because they're not accepting a 100K, 300 by 200 graphic ad. Those specs are there for a reason, and it's not so that we can hurt your performance. It's actually so we can improve your performance. So IAB, they set the standards. We follow those standards. And I don't know if you know this, but if someone decided to submit to us a 100K graphic ad on one of our websites, and somebody else followed the IAB standards, which is what we follow, which is 40K, it takes longer for your ad to load, which means a user's on a page, and the ads are loading on the page. They could navigate away from that page before your ad loads. So one, that's going to hurt your performance. You may not even be exposed. The second thing where Michael starts talking about a bunch of the Google stuff is the Google algorithms are constantly changing. And right now, they're ranking people based on their load time of their website. So the heavier files that we put on that site, the more it takes for that page to be downloaded, the lower we're going to get in ranking. This applies to your website as well. Any graphics that you put up there, you guys should be following IAB standards so you don't get dinged on some of those Google algorithms. Text links, strong keywords. Again, what would a user type if they're going to go into Google? So you want to make sure that you're not putting your product name. They're not necessarily typing in your product name. What does your product do? What is the feature of that product? What is the unique benefit of that product? Those are the types of words you should be using in your text links to get people to click on them. I've seen it time and time again. Putting your product name in there actually hurts the performance. And just make sure you're not making too many words on the page. The people are scanning it. Let them get to it quickly, keywords, and they'll go off to your site. So last examples that I'm going to show are 3 leaderboards. The top one here, no call to action. That's okay. The goal of that campaign was branding. That is okay not to have a call to action if that is your goal, and that means you're measuring it on impressions, and you are not measuring it on click-through because there was no place for a user to click there. This next one, if you can see it back there, you can see all the different calls to action. You better believe this customer is measuring this on their clicks. Okay, they have free, they have sign up, they have this nice button, get free access. Those work really well. This bottom one, definitely a branding campaign. First of all, don't do the phone number. Nobody's going to look at a banner ad. It's not a print magazine. They're not going to place a call to that phone number by looking at this leaderboard ad. But they have really good branding elements. They have the logo, they have their website, and then they have their company name. So how could they really be measuring the success of this other than just impressions? View through. And that's about where people actually see your ad and they do something about it later. So if you have any internal metrics that you guys are using, let's say Google Analytics to track all of your traffic, check out your search words and see if people are actually typing in now your company name or they're typing in your website address. You'd be surprised when you run a campaign like this how your search word activity changes and maps back to your ad unit. So in summary, outline your marketing objectives, think about those success metrics. If you don't know what the success metrics are, it's really hard to partner with someone to make sure that they're giving you the right solution. You want to make sure that you're executing based on those objectives. Monitor the performance. Media companies send out stats all the time in digital media. Take a look at them. It's only going to help you make better decisions moving forward. And always be curious about what's happening with the users. Don't make a decision now and try to keep running that all the way to December. So much is changing. Be curious about how your users are evolving. How are they adopting new technology? What new thing can you do? Where can you get things embraced? Mark will talk a little bit about the Fire app, and you'll see, get on top of where people are because they're in this Fire app, and you want to make sure that you can find ways to be there. So that was my section.